My name is Kyle Armstrong. I will be presenting the opposition, rebuttal, and closing statements. The invitation to the debate states that the resolution we are to debate is as follows. The United States federal government should heavily regulate internet pornography. The proposition is chosen to concentrate on revenge pornography. While this is more specific, it does not answer the resolution, as revenge pornography is not limited to the internet. Pornographic images may be distributed through a variety of medias, including but certainly not limited to the internet. As revenge pornography is not limited to the internet, there is no way to conceive that it could possibly make up a majority of the internet pornography. Therefore, any proposition specifying the regulation of revenge pornography does not meet the solvency requirement of the resolution. Thus, the judge should completely disregard it as it holds no merit. My opponent has stated that there are multiple laws relating to photography that prevent the distribution of photos without the subject's consent. However, he has failed to name any of these laws so that the truth of this statement may be verified. Within that opposition constructive speech, I cite an article in which the police department of the area in which Holly Jacobs lives stated that they are unable to prosecute the photographer of the pornographic images of Jacobs due to the fact that the pornographic images of Jacobs were the property of the photographer. This proves that it is in fact legal for the photographer of pornographic images of another to distribute those photographs as they are the photographer's property. Proposition has stated that the personal information of Jacobs was also distributed along with the pornographic images. Unfortunately for the proposition, personal information is in no way included in the definition of pornography, as referenced in both the proposition and opposition constructive speeches. The distribution of personal information is therefore unrelated to the resolution and should be disregarded by the judge. My jail argument is related to the proposition, as the proposition has offered jail time as a solution to the problem of revenge pornography. I have proven that the implementation of imprisonment as a punishment for the distribution of revenge pornography is a terrible idea, and it would lead to far greater and worse harms than the distribution of revenge pornography, such as the creation of a society of criminals and the exponentially increasing amount of criminals and criminal behavior. The evidence I have given to prove this fact applies to both state and federal prisons. Not only would the implementation of a prison sentence as punishment for the distribution of revenge pornography fail, but it would also lead to the destruction of the prison system of the entire United States, as my evidence, which has been dropped by the proposition, shows. Statements by the proposition are also contradictory when it comes to the topic of imprisonment as punishment. He states that imprisonment should not be used, then he goes on to state that it would be in the case of those distributors of revenge pornography that are wealthy. As he contradicts himself, these statements should be disregarded by the judge, not to mention the fact that he provides no citation of evidence for this or any information he provides. For one who makes the argument that his goal is to increase the educational value of this debate, the proposition appears to desire to fail to provide any educational value to this debate, as they are not providing any way for the opposition to corroborate these statements with evidence. The proposition has also made the claim that photos of two people from New Jersey performing homosexual acts on one another were released to the public, and that these photographs being released to the public caused two of the subjects of the images to commit suicide. While suicide is in fact terrible and should be prevented, he does not provide proof that the situation described actually occurred. There are no sources given to corroborate this story, thus it should not be taken into account by the judge. If it is taken into consideration, then I should be allowed to randomly create my own evidence as well, and thus remove any educational value from this debate, as my opponent has intended to do. However, I will not take the same pattern, as I have provided staunch evidence for my arguments that may be corroborated by both my opponent and the judge, and thus it is the opposition that the judge should side with in this matter, not the proposition which feels it can simply make up facts. As I would have no capability of rebutting new evidence being introduced by the proposition, the judge in this case should also disregard any new evidence the proposition chooses to introduce in the proposition closing statements.